Hello, my name is Nate Jones. I am a senior writer at Vulture.com, and I'm delighted to welcome to the stage Ira Glass, director Chris Wilcha, and producer Judd Apatow.
1, 2. We're in an awkward situation where we both were told that we would be doing the Q&A, so we both prepared. So we're both here for the greatest Q&A you will ever see in your life.
Hello, so I will get started.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
It's so good to see you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Good to see you, too.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. So Chris, at what point in your life, when you were sort of looking over sort of the graveyard of all these failed projects, when did you exactly realize that you could sort of turn all these bones into its own skeleton?
Well, I think it was when a group of people that I work with a lot, I sort of said, I have this idea for a film, and they sort of committed to working on it with me. We started it was about mid-pandemic, and it was in the making that it started to prove proof of concept. It started to work. We did a bunch of it. I'm really nervous. I'm very sorry.
You shouldn't be nervous, but also, you really.
Could you hold?
But also, when did you get the actual idea to answer my colleague's question? The thought that like I could put all the little films together into a big film. Did that like was there a moment where you were like staring at the hard drives and you started picturing them all together, smushed together into one hard drive?
I started working with my genius editor Joe Besinkovsky, who is here today.
In the back.
And it was when I started to bury him in things, and we started to say, well, wait, could this fit? Could this fit? And I'd be like, I found another hard drive. I just found another thing. I found another thing. And I kept finding more and more things.
Because at the beginning, it was just the record store.
It started to be just the record store. And then we started to sort of like fold other things in. And there was an editor here too, Claire Ave-Lamont, who's also here, who helped us out immensely. And it was in the doing. This was purely in the doing. This was in the doing, in the trenches of it. It was not like I walked in thinking this was going to happen. It was
so
in
you're
the
like taking Herman's advice, actually, to just like throw yourself into it, and then the answer will reveal itself.
Well, and like you say it about love, but you say, we wander off into the mist of creativity and life, and we just have to do it with this faith and this sort of
that something
this
will happen.
instinct,
yeah.
and that something will happen. And that was exactly what this was.
Wait, but when you started, if you want to like, when you started, you didn't know it was going to be all the films together.
Jesus.
You just thought it would be. You just thought it would be like the record store and
Joe,
one or
remind
two of the
me.
others.
We knew we had an instinct about this. We knew we were going to do.
You had 700 ideas. One was that one time you were pitching a series and it would be based out of the record store. You pull out a record and that would propel you into a story. And I think Herman became the key, and he said he could be the kind of spine of the film and would consistently speak to the audience.
And also, there was a moment where it was going to be in the form of a record, and the idea would be that each song would be one of the stories. There was many ideas. Also, my co-writer, Adam Goldman, helped me also immensely in a Google document for endless hours, for endless days.
But if you think about the plot of it is you have all these different films, and then at some point you decide to make it into a real film. And if this were a conventional movie, like Act 3 would be, we see you try to make the film together, and you would we'd see you up against it. But instead of us seeing you decide, I'm going to make them into, there's no decision point in the movie where you're like, I'm going to make them all into one film, and that's going to solve my problem.
Yeah.
And then we watch you make the film. Instead, that's all kind of off stage, and you handle it all in the final narration, which is so, I have to say, like so perfect. Like it's so good where you say where you say I'll have to finish the film for it to work, and I realize my track record isn't great, and then you have the line that the whole film has been leading to, and it's so good. You say, but let's just say I could finish it, which is like such a perfect way to do it. But did you consider putting the making of the film, which is the plot of the movie, into the movie?
That was going to get so meta that your head would explode.
Okay.
Trust me, I thought of it. I did think of it. And Joe did point out that a plot point is when the director credit comes up, because it's like, that's the final puzzle piece. I will say, this is also still dragging on, this entire drama. So for instance, I didn't think I was going to be able to come because I'm doing a commercial job. So I almost couldn't come because of a commercial job that's conflicting with this. And then we're trying to sell the film, and we're having a really interesting, really difficult time doing that.
Why? Because it's a documentary.
Will you maybe offer
Even
a
though it
little
has
insight?
such star
Hi,
power,
Judd.
Judd Apatow in
Because
it.
it's a good documentary. I think that makes
That's
it more
why it won't
difficult.
sell.
Yeah. And Rihanna doesn't star in it, I think.
We're experiencing sort of the perils of the global streaming marketplace of wanting murder and celebrity spectacle.
Got
And that
it.
this is kind of a slightly more muted
I
thing.
mean, Uncle Floyd might be a serial killer.
It's true. That could.
And if he
be
was, we
revealed.
could sell this right now. Should we just add that?
I'm willing to open it up again
Okay.
and revisit.
I remember you've also opened yourself up to a way to give this film sort of a very juicy ending, which is just to,
To kill myself?
yes.
Wow. Very dark.
Very dark.
Didn't
turn.
see that. Think about
So
it.
this film, but a lot of it is about sort of your own life, and it comes from you sort of shooting so many hours of just sort of your regular life with you and your family and you and your children. What was the process like of cutting down, 10 years of footage of your life into like a 10-second montage?
Yeah, there's at one point where you have that montage. We were talking about this, where in like 9 shots, you're like, and then a decade passed, and you're like, how much footage did you give Joe? Like,
Yeah.
was the first cut
No,
of
no.
that 40
Nausea,
minutes?
Nausea-inducing amounts of footage. By the way, he had to endure watching this shit. I mean, can you imagine the baseball games and the poor Joe had to see more of my life than he. I mean, I think we're still talking though, right? We're good. I think we're good. It was astonishing, and that was one of the things about my collaborators was I often would get paralyzed because I would want the shot of this and I'd want the moment of that, and they'd be like, we have to move on. Like, you have to stop thinking of new things, you have to stop adding things, you have to stop coming up with more montage ideas or lengthening the montages. So it was the collaborators that brought this to the finish line.
And so so for that particular montage, like the first cut of it
Yeah.
was how many minutes, do you think?
I mean, the whole thing, let's say it was 4 minutes, right? To tell
Okay.
your whole life story. And then you get it down to a minute and 2 minutes and
Right.
30 seconds and, then 6 seconds.
And then how much, can I say, like, for me, like,
Yeah.
after working with you, I feel like one of the things that I thought was so sweet, where there's a couple places where you're just directing people on the set, and I feel like, oh my God, it's just like the way he really is. And there's the one where you're in the set for the vinyl commercial, and you're like, okay, so this I just wanted the camera to see vinyl. Everyone is like, oh, I totally have experienced this with Chris, and it was so sweet. But then I thought, like, why? Who is filming this? Who's doing the behind the scenes of the
Yeah.
making of this commercial? Why was that filmed at all? How much are you filming all the time? Let's start with the specific. Who
Yeah.
filmed that shot?
I handed it to the gaffer.
Why?
Because I knew I wanted to. Well, first of all, there was uncanny echoes with what was actually in my mind at that moment, which is I'm, dying to make this documentary about this record store, and here I am making a 30-second commercial about an insurance company, and it's about a guy's vinyl collection. So I had a sense that
So
there
you
was
knew
a
there
scene
might
there.
be a film for it.
Well, I knew that there might be a home for it, and I'm a collector. I collect, I gather, I and then some of it.
No, you saw
is-
the movie.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
No, and then okay, and then what about just like your family life? Like, how much are you filming?
Elaine.
How much?
Here's
Filming
the
a
thing.
lot.
Here's the thing. I have chilled out a bit because there did get to a point where life is not being lived, right? And I think that I have definitely chilled out a bit. I was obsessive for a while, I will admit.
And at the obsessive phase, how much was it? Be concrete.
I would have the camera, oftentimes it's passive, right? I would throw it up. So I'd throw it up and turn it on and be playing with the kids or doing the thing. And there'd be a kind of like real-time gathering. You know what I mean? But if you do 5 minutes a day over the course of 10 years, or, you know what I mean? It's not like
And
I was
then at
rolling
the-
for hours. I
and
wasn't
then at
this
the-
guy, like, who wanted, you know what I mean? I wasn't
You just
reality
do a
show
little bit.
smothering. I think it would be little bits.
And then at the end of the
glimpses.
day, would you like make a note of like the date and here's what I got?
No. That
Okay.
was a crisis that has haunted me since. Is the logging of it was a horror show.
Right.
The decay of the footage, it's all rotting now. These hard drives become obsolete. I remember there's a scene we didn't include. You were baking your old tapes, right?
Yeah, if we would have to go back to something old, we'd have to throw them into an oven and bake them.
The stuff disappears.
Yeah, which is fine.
Can I get in? What does
Totally.
baking do?
It makes basically what happens is that on magnetic tapes, there's magnetic stuff on plastic, and there's some glue, and the glue is the stuff that's coming off. And if you bake it once, you can get it to stick one last time. You play it one last time, and you can never play it again.
Wow, very poetic.
Yeah. I have a question for.
I think you had a Judd question.
Okay, so if I can, I just think like you are such an opposite of Chris. Like you are exactly. You turn out so much product, not just your own very personal films,
And very
but like
successful.
you're constantly, but also
Relentlessly
but also like you're constantly working with like Amy Schumer, like Pete Davidson. Like there's a list of like a dozen other people, and also you make your own documentaries. It's not just like you're doing features. So what could you possibly relate to in this film? What do you that is my real question. What do you because I know you wouldn't do it if you didn't connect to something. What are you connecting to? Most successful person I've ever met.
Well, I think my whole career is a form of hoarding, you know, like just doing too many things. And also, I mean, I definitely am a hoarder. That's why the movies are all too long, because I can't, like you trying to throw your stuff out is me trying to trim, you know.
Although, can I tell you a trick he pulled off? He casts his own children in his film. So he has 35 millimeter film shot by famous DPs of his gorgeous family as they grow up.
And I put them on the DVDs, like as a DVD extra, like I call them like Kids Running Wild, and I know no one in the world wants to see it, but now it's locked in somewhere.
Yes,
but I had all sorts of weird connections to this through Chris, because I don't remember how I first became aware of you.
But I thought it was This American Life.
I loved the show that you did, and so then, you know, as a form of hoarding, let's do a documentary about the making of Funny People. And also, my grandfather was a jazz producer who produced like, you know, Cannonball Adderley and worked with Quincy Jones and did Charlie Parker. And he gave Herman Leonard his first break doing the album covers for MRC Records, like in the late 40s or early 50s. Wow. And so there kept being connections between David Milch, who was my mentor, and then I introduced him to David. And so the more we looked at it, it was weird how it kept weaving us all back together.
One of the things I love about the film is it's sort of a loving portrait of Gen X, in a way. And you get that wonderful moment in the middle of the movie where you realize that, oh, this small town in New Jersey can support a record store. It just has to be a record store that appeals to millennials and not Gen X.
True.
And I'm just curious, like all three, you're, I guess, on the cusp kind of Gen X boomer, but what do you sort of, I Wikipedia'd you before this. I didn't, yeah.
Thank you, though.
Yeah. I was just sort of curious if you could kind of put into words, like, what do you feel has been kind of lost with the passing of the dream of the 90s that we sort of see?
Well, hold on. You just reminded me. The Station One guys are here. Joe and Daniel.
Woo! Stand up.
I hope they like the film because they haven't seen it yet.
Hey, guys.
And Tracy Wilson is here, who I feel is the soul of the movie in many ways.
Where?
Where's
Stand up,
Tracy?
stand
Could
up.
she stand up? Woo! There's Tracy.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for coming. It is interesting. I took my now 17-year-old daughter to Flipside, and she doesn't know how to crate dig.
Yeah.
She knows how to put something to a search engine and get the Taylor Swift vinyl with the particular color that she wants, and it comes to the house, and you're done. And so it is, I think, part of the paralysis at Flipside is that you have to go there. It is work to look. You have to want to discover it, which feels very Gen X, right? You have to dig up, you know, roll up your sleeves and get filthy and move stuff around, and there's less and less of an appetite to do that, even just the attention span to do that. And I don't want to sound like, you know, it was better in the good old days, but it is difficult to shop there. It's challenging. And Station One is amazing, though. I mean, there's a fluidity with which new stuff comes and goes, and their Instagram presence is amazing, and I feel like here's the thing. Go to Pompton Lakes, make a pilgrimage. It's about an hour outside the city, and go to both stores, and please shop. And tell Dan you saw the movie and liked it.
Okay, this is a
Yeah.
totally for real question. Okay,
Please.
so at some point you have the footage for Starley's film or the Herman Leonard thing. Why didn't you just make them into little, like 5 to 7 to 12-minute films and just put them out?
With Herman Leonard, there was like a
You did.
10-minute version.
But the point, there's no outlet for those things. Like, who watches short docs?
Who
Where do they
watches
live?
any docs?
I
They,
know.
like
Well,
it's
docs
not,
are
it's
having
not
a
like,
bit of a, you know.
But no,
golden age, I don't
seriously, like why not just make the thing? Why not just, you have the footage, why not just make the
You
thing?
didn't let him release it.
What?
It's your fault.
By ending my TV show?
Oh, no, he means the dance piece.
Oh, the dance piece.
That we kind of lost faith in that project.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's start with that one.
But I understood why you kind of gave up on that. Like
Yeah.
it didn't have the mojo that it needed. You know, you weren't your head
No,
wasn't in it.
sometimes you're dealing with a monster. That's of course. That's why. So, but then the others, you didn't have any impulse to like make them into little things and finish them and just be done done.
No, it's weird. I think in the longer form. I think you got to do a whole doc. And you know what? The truth is there are things that don't deserve to be full-length documentaries. It's true. And they should just be little short things.
Yeah.
And that is but where, Quibi? Remember that? It was supposed to be short-form little things.
Yeah.
Anyway, that died. Nobody looked at Quibi.
Yeah.
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 I have noticed they've been breaking up your show into little bits on the app. The
On the New York Times app, yeah.
How do you feel about that? It takes away, it robs it of its old full-length album feeling, right? Of a whole episode being thematically coherent.
I mean, please don't say.
I don't mean
please
to put you
don't
on the
tweet
spot.
this, but like so few people are on that app.
Oh, okay.
Like that, I feel like we've got to
Nobody
make a
cares.
living, and they
Okay,
offered us some
fair
money, and I was like, yeah, you can break this up. And
What
like,
app is that? So
It's the New York Times app, the New York
Audio
Times
app.
audio app. It's an
New.
excellent product. Excellent product.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should I just keep going?
Yeah, go. You throw another one in.
Like, where are the hard drives in your house? Like, is there one like radioactive drawer in your house that you can't walk by, and then sometimes the kids just see you standing in front of it, and they try
Yeah.
to say, "Dad, Dad, Dad, can you hear me?" And you're just staring. Like, where are they?
Well, they were in the house, but then during the pandemic, the house became a prison, and I had to rent a small office because the internet was crashing. The kids were going to school online. I was working on, Elaine was working online. So I took them to this office space, and it is just the most. I'm on Amazon finding dongles to cords to.
So you can
jury
actually
rig.
connect them
so
to
you
something.
can connect them, and you have to often daisy chain them to other things, and they make these sounds you've never heard before. And I'm really nervous because again, looming obsolescence of the hard drives.
Are you going to just transfer them to the web?
Yeah,
to
but
the
it's
cloud?
it's a huge
Okay.
project.
Okay, so thinking about the editing of this film,
Yeah.
like both at the macro level, the structural level, and the kind of like the little micro passages,
Yeah.
I really have to say, sort of like as I was watching, I felt like I really thought about working with Joe and what it's like, and you're generally going through chronology, and then like taking things in chronological order, and then I noticed that the place where the This American Life sequence comes, you do a quick one at the beginning. You say, "I did
Quick.
this," and then you
Preview.
come back to it later in the sequence, totally out of sequence, and you pivot to it off of Tracy,
Yeah.
and you say like, "Oh, she found the thing that was her like passion,
Yeah.
and this was the one that I felt totally fulfilled
Yeah.
by," which totally seemed like a kind of editing room fix to like put a thing in position out of order because you can't figure out where to put it, and then you do the This American Life part, and then the dance show part,
Yeah.
And if you think about it, the entire structure of the film, because this is how I watch a film, because all I do is
Yeah.
edit
In real time.
documentaries all day long, and all I can do is like see the structure see the bones of the structure through the thing. So if you think about it, the This American Life sequence, you could just pull it out of there. And I thought like, well, why didn't they put the longer This American Life thing over here at the beginning? And it was like, oh, I guess it would just slow down the pacing there.
Yeah.
But then I thought you could just take the whole thing out, and the whole film is solid. Like you didn't even need us.
Meaning the dancer section gone?
Gone. Yeah. Did you consider just like killing us?
No. Joe and I definitely talked about revisiting This American Life the second time and going like a scooch deeper. Was that essential? But I felt like it had a little gravitas to it. It told a little bit of the backstory of the working together, and it earned you calling back and saying, "Hey, come and help with this thing."
Did you ever do the longer This American Life part at the beginning?
No, because that montage is moving 900 miles an hour. It's
Right.
basically like I get married, my professional life is going well.
You just need to establish
That
all the-
shit is-
yeah.
A decade goes in about a minute. I think it's a minute. Seriously. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
no, it's so good.
So that's why
It's-
if we had clustered that all, I think the whole
You couldn't have.
whole thing would have just ground to a halt.
What was the hardest thing to figure out?
Well, the ending, because we didn't. A film professor of mine once said, "Figure out the ending, and you can map your way toward it." And we did not know the ending for the entire time we were doing this, and so we were moving puzzle pieces around constantly. There was a point at which David Bowie was the ending, and we thought, "Oh, that's the idea." I know it was crazy, but you're in the edit. It's a mess. It's the fog of war. You've been there. You're there every day.
Yeah, I'm in there every day.
So that didn't work. And we were trying to figure out the Milch stuff, like the Milch of it all. Like, it was so emotionally heavy, and it was longer at one point. And we realized that you kind of, after Milch, you had lovely notes about this, that there was kind of nowhere to go after Milch.
Well, David put out his autobiography. Like, he wrote an autobiography with the help of his family while he had Alzheimer's, and it's an amazing book. And so they asked me to interview him, to have some footage of him that they could put out to promote it. And then we thought, oh, maybe we could ask him about the Herman Leonard thing when we do that. But I love how it all weaves through David Milch, because he just has such a beautiful way of talking about creativity, and also just talking about, the regrets in life. Like the moment he said, failures of generosity, and you knew that was on his mind as somebody who put people through a lot during his life. I mean, the second he said it, I just was like bawling. And he's just a beautiful, giving, but kind of larger than life man. So the idea that it would land, and his wife describing what that life is like, to live with that, I thought was very moving.
But also, I have to say, like just seeing him as a counterexample of somebody who didn't spend time with his family.
I know, yeah.
Like, I just feel like it does something to the way we see you and your family, and in a really sweet way. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and
So make more Apple commercials.
every documentary, these are like these collection of case studies. It's like films within the film. Everyone, like, there's this moment where it would just start to overstay its welcome, and we were going to go deeper with David and tell more, but you'd always feel it where it couldn't accommodate, within this container. Like, I feel like someone should make a David Milch
I feel like though the
documentary.
ending, it seems inevitable the way you do it. It's the perfect, like that last sentence is like just the perfect, oh, what if I could finish it? And it makes the existence of the film into the end of the film without, I mean, like I said before, it's just like, it's so good. It's so strong. Anyway, all right, we have to leave.
Yeah,
because
speaking of endings-
Thank you so much. Thank you for doing this.
Before
I'm sorry about
before
that.
you
of
leave,
course.
Thank you for hanging out.
it's an independent film. Wait, stay here for a second. It's an independent film. If you like this, tell everybody you know. If you could take our pictures and post it to your social media, it will help these gentlemen who have no
Yes.
distributor and need all the press and love they can get from the world. So if you have social media and if you like the film, please take our pictures now and post and say, Sony, @Netflix. Like, I saw the greatest film I've ever seen, and I know 500,000 people who will watch it in 7 different countries.
Yes.
In desirable demographics.
That's what they want.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
guys.
Thank you, guys.